Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, let's pull up this screen. A lot going on. Looks like Ahuna has been cleared for the baseball team. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Vitello's status. Of course, you know he's been suspended. We're going to talk about that. Also, the national media, or some in the national media, are starting to get it when it comes to Heupel's offense, and they're not doubting it as much. We're going to talk about that too. All right, first, good news for the baseball team. Ahuna has been cleared by the NCAA, and he is now eligible, and I'll show you all that. And this is on VolQuest. It says transfer shortstop Maui Ahuna has been cleared to play baseball. It says after missing the first 8 games of the campaign, Tennessee fans received good news on Monday as their star transfer portal addition was cleared for game activity. He announced on social media. It says here, Suppa Man is back. And Tennessee announced just hours prior to the season, of course, that his eligibility had been called into question. And then Tony Vitello got suspended for 3 games this weekend over that very issue. And Ahuna is the number 22 prospect for Major League Baseball, their top draft prospects. And he batted .396 last year. He had 8 home runs, 48 RBIs, 13 stolen bases, plays great shortstop, very good player, one of the very best in college baseball. So that's really good news. The other good news for baseball is that Tony is also going to be reinstated, and I'll show you that. And here it's been announced, Tennessee head baseball coach reinstated after suspension. It says Vitello is back. It was limited to the 3-game weekend. And if you'll remember, he got suspended last year for bumping into an umpire. And here it says, the official update says, we are pleased to announce that Coach Vitello has completed his 3-game suspension. He'll be back in the dugout leading our baseball team tomorrow. We are also thrilled that Maui Ahuna's eligibility has been reinstated. He is available to join Tennessee's active roster effective immediately. And it says Tennessee has cleared Tony of any wrongdoing. However, the NCAA still has an investigation in recruiting infractions, etc., which, look, NCAA, they usually take about 27 years when they're investigating a team or a player. You know, sometimes they'll try to get it done in under like 20 years if they're really in a hurry. So I guess we'll probably find out in like, I don't know, what, 2050, how that's going to play out. I'd say Ahuna will probably be retired at that point. Vitello will be retired, and then we'll find out for sure. So anyway, take your time, NCAA. Don't rush anything, ever. Anyway, I think UT was just being careful with Tony because, look, you know, we've got the NCAA investigation on Coach Pruitt, that big dummy.
You big dummy. You're a big dummy there. I'm not kidding you. You're a big dummy.
Who couldn't have messed up more as a head football coach. So they're trying to be careful, and so they got in front of this. That's the one thing I will give Tennessee credit for, man. When there's a screw up, they jump on it. They blow the whistle on themselves. They go ahead and penalize and do all that stuff. So they're trying to stay ahead of the game, I guess, and ahead of the NCAA. So good news across the board for baseball. Also, I was watching some national media types on YouTube because I do that a lot. And I don't even watch TV anymore because what's the point? There's no good shows on. There's no good movies anymore. My gosh, the movies out in the last couple of years have been awful. They just will not make any good entertainment anymore. It's all got to have a message. It's all got to preach to you. It can't just be entertainment. You know, I remember back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s when we had great movies, great TV. Now it's preach, preach, preach. Nobody wants to hear that crap. We just want to be entertained, you know. You remember Escape to the movies? Now it's Escape from the movies. Anyway, I was watching a couple of national media types on YouTube, and they get it. They actually understand what Josh Heupel's doing and really how this is going to play out. So anyway, I thought I'd play this for you, and then I'll respond to it. And this is Unnecessary Roughness. I've never seen this before, but I believe this is Josh Pate up here in the right-hand corner, and he actually made some pretty cogent points. But anyway, listen to what they've got to say here about Tennessee football.
An idea about Tennessee that might be wrong, at least in my estimation is wrong. And they believe that because Hendon Hooker is not going to be there, they're not going to be nearly as good. But my thing is, Hendon Hooker at Virginia Tech was a thoroughly average quarterback. And when he got to Josh Heupel in Tennessee, Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker worked together and became an unstoppable force. And their offense is designed to make you make decisions 20 yards down the field, and Hendon Hooker knew when and where to deliver the ball at all times. If he did it with Hendon Hooker, tell me why he can't do it with Joe Milton. I am not writing this team off for going 10-2, 11-1, 12-0 this year.
I think they'll be a better team this year. That doesn't guarantee better record.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if you got me to November, it wouldn't shock me if some odds maker came out and said, hey, here at FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever, we would favor 2023 Tennessee by 3 over 2022 Tennessee. There's already case study for this. Number one, you mentioned both parts of it, really. I don't have a ton to add, rare though that may be. When Hendon Hooker came to Tennessee, here's what you can't do. You can't be the guy who said, so what? He picked up Hendon Hooker. And then also say, well, yeah, Hendon Hooker's shining. He's playing in Josh Heupel's offense. Like that's called development, man. That's called fit. And also,
that's the first person that I've seen that actually understands that whole concept. That you can't say, oh, well, he had Hendon Hooker, that's why they're good, and then come right back and say, oh, well, Hendon Hooker's only good because he got into Josh Heupel's offense. Those two things are what's known as cognitive dissonance. That's where you have two competing theories that clash into each other, and whichever one you want to use, you use. So there was somebody that actually gets it, and let's let him continue.
You can't say Joe Milton, accuracy issues, which he had. Like, that was the book on him. And then all of a sudden he plays Clemson, and it's just dime after dime after dime. So either he was the most zoned in you'll ever see, or you got an early 4-quarter case study that dude's been sitting on the bench but working under Josh Heupel and already got better. Jalen Hurts, when he got benched at Bama and got to work under Sark, not even starting for a year. There's a reason when he came off the bench against Georgia, he was able to win. He was a better quarterback. And so Joe Milton's a better quarterback. And they're also bringing in one of the top players in the country to where if Joe Milton doesn't work out, they got a 5-star quarterback that is there for spring and could very well be ready to go. So they're also very silently recruiting better players defensively.
Yeah.
That's the thing no one will talk about because it's offense. That's the name of the game there. So I think they'll be a better team this year. What that means, I don't know. They got to go to Tuscaloosa, so we'll see.
They were so bad defensively, still went 11-2. They were so bad defensively that a 20% improvement on defense makes them a remarkably better team. And Joe Milton, listen, if I saw Josh Heupel do it with Hendon Hooker, I'm going to assume he is capable of doing it with Joe Milton. I'm just going to assume that. And one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is Hendon Hooker did great in the offense, but Heupel's offense just results in more open receivers than any offense I've seen. They confuse you. They make your defensive back end make decisions, and if you hesitate for a second, Jalen Hyatt's by you, and there'll be a new Jalen Hyatt. So I think Tennessee is fascinating this year. Now, I didn't enjoy Tennessee's rise to glory this year because Tennessee fans acted like all of college football was waiting for them to be great again. But that's just me.
Because they were.
You know what you ought to do one time is come to one of these games and actually stay for the game and meet these people with me. I think you may sing a different tune about Tennessee folks.
First of all, you and I were at the same Tennessee Ole Miss game last year. You hid from me. Secondly, if you're in a private jet with Dave Portnoy and Dave Portnoy says, "I want to go home and get to sleep," you gotta get on the private jet. I had no choice.
Well, you got a choice. It's just called commercial. Live that life.
All right, look, those were excellent points. I think it's the first time in the national media that I have heard anybody that truly understands Tennessee offense, the Tennessee defense, how well they're recruiting on the defensive side. And if they fix the defense, which look at the improvement from 2021 to 2022. I got it on a chart. Now look at this, folks. 29.1 points allowed in 2021, 22.7. That's almost a full touchdown improvement from 90th in the country in scoring to 36th. All right. And then they go out and they recruit like crazy, pick up 3 awesome edge rushers, 3 cornerbacks, a couple of linebackers that are going to really help them. And they brought in a transfer portal guy from BYU, who was one of their best defensive players, who was a starting cornerback and their starting linebacker. So we're improving on the defense pretty quickly. The defensive line improved a ton from one year to the next. The secondary did not. The secondary was still very porous and very poor. But they're improving. If that defense gets better, the offense is going to take care of itself over time. Now, I don't know if Joe Milton's going to be the next Hendon Hooker. I really don't. That would be difficult to do. And I still have some concerns. But I tell you what, he played really well in the Clemson game, and he showed significant improvement. If that continues, he may be a Hendon Hooker-like player. We'll see. If not, again, we've got the number one player in the country in Nico, and Nico looks great. And he's got, 9-10 months to improve and to learn the system. So, I feel pretty good about the Vols, and it was really nice to hear somebody in the national media actually take a look at it and understand it in a meaningful way. It's the first time I've seen that.
Welcome to the party, pal.
And really all he's doing is seeing the forest for the trees. And this chart shows you that. This is every quarterback that Josh Heupel's had play for him. Look at those numbers. Touchdowns in the 30s, interceptions in the single digits, and that's been across the board, whether it was Kent Myers, Drew Lock, Mackenzie Milton, Dylan Gabriel, Hendon Hooker for 2 years, and now Joe Milton with 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And then you look at this chart. This is Josh Heupel's offense for 7 years. This is when Josh Heupel was not the offensive coordinator at Missouri. They went from 13.6 the year before to 31.4 points a game with Josh Heupel, and they stayed that way for 2 years. Then he went to UCF, scored in the 40s. This was the year when we had Big Dummy, and we scored 21 points a game. And then Heupel came in, and we went to 39 and then 46, which is number one in the country. It's refreshing to see somebody in the national media actually understands that. It really is. So anyway, folks, we got a bunch of good news. Got our star shortstop cleared. Vitello's looks like he's cleared, certainly by the university, and his suspension's over. And the media's finally starting to get it. It's about time. Welcome to the party. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols and the SEC and baseball and basketball. And, man, a great game against South Carolina yesterday. And we'll be playing, Arkansas tomorrow at 9 o'clock. It's a late night. I don't like the late ones, but I'll watch it. And right over here on my left, that is the subscribe button. Just hit that little button. Costs you nothing. Would help me out. I'd appreciate it. And right over here, YouTube puts a video, my most recent one. Check that one out. It's pretty popular. And I'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.